I would like to call on stage with a big round of applause Mr. Gaurav Guha, Principal Advisor, AI Procurement Strategy, Aerchain. Can we have Gaurav on the stage with a big round of applause, please? Gaurav, can we have you on stage here?
All right, a very, very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gaurav Guha. I head sales and I'm the Principal Advisor for AI Procurement Strategy at Aerchain. I hope our presentation is ready. Okay, perfect. So I want to start this off with a quick question to the audience. I'm sure some of you have seen a small request coming in and have underestimated just how complex or just how critical that request was, just how this could snowball into a problem that you never anticipated. And then this somewhat minor problem, which you had initially thought of as inconsequential, ends up as a production delay, ends up as an event that you couldn't execute on time because the event collaterals haven't arrived on time. It ends up with a manufacturing production delay because a certain one C-class item was not procured on time. What is the reason for this? One second. Now, a study that we did with McKinsey Group actually found out that most procurement executives spend almost 3 days out of a week just coordinating with stakeholders, chasing approvals. One intake request has come in, one PR has come in, it's got insufficient information, so you're going back and forth with the stakeholder who raised that request to clarify what is the color, what is the characteristic, what is the size, what is the material to be used. This is an endless back and forth loop which just adds days, weeks to your cycle time without any sort of criminal intent, I would say. Now, if you had to break down the entire procurement process into the various levels at which execution is done, we've got the execution layer, which consists of buyers, analysts, specialists. We've got the governance layer, which consists of team leads, category managers, senior buyers, etc. And then you've got the strategic layer, where VPs, CPOs, senior decision makers have to decide what is the strategy for the organization going forward. Now, at each of these layers, these inefficiencies create various levels of problems. So at the execution and governance layers, this problem actually creates a lot of rework and inconsistency in the data, requires a lot of follow-ups, requires endless approvals being chased. Whereas at the higher governance and strategic layers, this leads to strategic decision-making delays and governance errors, right? What is the problem? What is the business impact? Long cycle times, increase in compliance risk, and overall bottom line leakage. Now, Aerchain has tried to break down what is the various areas where AI can assist. I hope my voice is not breaking. Can you confirm for me? It's audible to everyone, right? Okay. So, everyone is talking about Gen AI in procurement. Everyone today probably has some sort of GPT or Gemini which they're using. You're using it day in and day out to possibly write your emails for you, possibly review your RFPs for you. But this is very, very unstructured right now. Companies might be having their own AI foundry, their own GPT subscriptions. Individuals might be using their own private data, their own private subscriptions, which end up becoming possibly security hazards. So we've tried to break up this whole AI angle into 3 areas of actual effectiveness. 3 AI areas which can be used to practically do your work more simply. What are these? Advisory intelligence, assistive intelligence, and execution intelligence. Or advisory AI, assistive AI, and execution AI. Let me explain each of these in turn. Advisory AI basically comes in to tell you what to do in any specific situation. If you're raising an intake request, advisory AI will tell you the best way to raise that. What additional information has to be captured from the very start? What does that intake request have to contain at minimum before it can be executed by a procurement buyer? Next, assistive intelligence. This does your work for you. So if you have to draft an SOW, if you have to create an RFP, if you have to run an event from end to end, if you have to draft a contract, an engagement letter, a negotiation summary, a note for approval, all of these would be manually done by procurement professionals reading through pages and pages of text before then sending that through email and approvals, etc., etc. So, assistive intelligence basically takes that hard manual work out of the equation altogether. Then comes execution intelligence. This will actually do the task which a human would otherwise be doing, end to end. And I'll talk about where these actually come into the procurement process. And by acknowledging and by integrating and incorporating all of these areas of intelligence, assistive, advisory, and execution, you are able to move from what we call procurement at the speed of coordination to procurement at the speed of thought, where an individual's thinking and creativity is the only bottleneck, not the actual manual effort required to do one thing and get things done. All right, what are the impacts? Increased savings, reduced risk exposure, and increase in throughput. So everything that you're doing today, if AI is taking care of the heavy lifting, if AI is taking care of the policy alignment, if AI is taking care of the compliance gaps, therefore, the procurement team is actually free to use their creativity, to leverage their vendor relationships, to build more strategic partnerships, to do their jobs far more effectively without getting bogged down in the mundane, as we call it, right? So there are 40 plus enterprises who have adopted this framework and are now on the path to sentient procurement, or procurement at the speed of thought, as Aerchain is now branding it. All right, now, we know the typical intake to award or source to contract process. This starts off with intake, sourcing, bid analysis, evaluation, negotiation, and awards. All of these levels of intelligence, assistive, advisory, and executional, play a key part. So, when an intake request gets generated, either as a PR form, an internal requisition, a standard ERP generated, or an SAP PR, like an Oracle PR, all of those are intake requests to us. That's initiating the transaction. Once this request comes in, or once this request is generated, the first thing we need to figure out, is there an existing purchase framework which you can leverage? Either a catalog, a contract, any past purchase we can simply replicate. So we don't have to go through the whole process of creating this transaction or strategizing this transaction from scratch. You have an existing purchase framework which you can simply clone and modify as needed to go forward. So that's where execution, assistive, and even advisory intelligence comes in to guide the user to the right catalog item, to guide the user to the right contract that they can leverage, without having to go chasing to procurement or any other single person who will know where exactly this information or this purchase framework exists. And this is usually limited because the information tends to be in silos from company to company. Therefore, giving a collective view to that business user at the point where they are raising the request, that becomes critical to the velocity of the transaction. Correct? Now, when we go to sourcing, once you've got a ready-to-go intake, either a PR or a enriched intake with all the specifications you would need, that has to be seamlessly converted into an RFQ, which has all the relevant information needed from your own organization's policy. So you will have your own RFP templates for raw materials, for services, for MRO items, right? The system can automatically pick up the right template from your past purchase history, and it's not just copying the template, it's regenerating a new RFP using that template as a base. Just like today you would upload a document into ChatGPT and say, please create something from this. This uses that, but it also knows what level of stringency, what verbiage does your own company have in your RFPs, your own unique terms and conditions, everything that is specific to you, and applies that automatically to the RFP level. If it's an InfoSec or if it's an IT-related service or product that you're sourcing, the system is smart enough to understand and automatically pick up your InfoSec questionnaire, your data privacy questionnaire, your due diligence questionnaire, and it knows that for this specific requirement, this is the level of evaluation that needs to be done. Going forward, bid analysis. Vendor bids come in multiple formats, right? If you're doing it offline today, you are getting document packages, bid submission packages from vendors consisting of emails, consisting of Excel documents, PDFs, Word documents, and it's impossible to do that without a human sitting and reading through all of that information if the vendor is submitting that as just a zip file. Or even if you have an e-procurement suite, maybe an Ariba or a Coupa or something like that. That is still a structured format which you are requiring the vendor to log into a portal of which he has to do this for every one of his customers, so he's quite sick and tired of that by now. And there is a lot of resistance towards this. So, vendors are restricted by the tools that you use and you enforce to get the data in the format which you needed. And therefore, anytime there is some sort of friction, humans will find workarounds, so they'll sending bids offline, which will still require your people to manually look at them, copy paste them into a comparative, or upload the bid from the vendor on their behalf into your Ariba, just to be able to do the comparison, right? Over here, our AI can look through bid documents in any format and automatically decide these are the apple-to-apple comparison parameters that we have to frame this comparative in, and no matter what format the vendor has submitted, KPMG is submitted in PDF, BCG is submitted in Word document, somebody else has submitted in Excel. The system reads through all of that, extracts all the bid relevant information, and will then put that into a comparative view that you can understand, while still highlighting the exceptions and deviations from one bid to another, without a human having to manually read through a 50-page proposal document on their own. So at every step of the process, AI is smoothening the process while still keeping to your degree of quality, your degree of compliance, what you as a procurement professional would do in that scenario. And that also sets a standard in the system which new joinees who are not part of this ecosystem, who are joining, will be able to actually get exposed to and will automatically apply to their work, because that's what the system is enforcing. Next, evaluation. Multiple vendors, multiple bids. The system is doing an AI-powered analysis at the first end, and it's smart enough to understand different material specifications of steel. What are the different quality standards in packaging material? The AI is fed with that category intelligence collected over a decade's worth of Aerchain operations. And that intelligence is influencing what analysis and evaluation and AI is giving to a vendor's technical response, as well as giving a justification for why it has rated vendor A's response better than vendor B's response, giving your team a general idea of how to go about it. Then you can actually have human-driven evaluation, where subject matter experts, quality team people are coming in, looking at the actual response, giving a human rating, which can then augment or supersede the AI rating. So you're basically applying a level of quality to your evaluation processes at scale. Then comes negotiations. Now, these have typically always been done offline. Offline, sitting in a room across from the vendor, doing this one-to-one, or doing it on an email basis, where you're sending individual counter offers to each of your vendors who you're dealing with. Now again, that is what delays the process. That is what affects the velocity of your procurement. So, how we have solved this problem is by creating a negotiation agent, which is again as fed with category intelligence as needed to negotiate not just your pricing, but your non-pricing terms, payment terms and conditions, service conditions, multi-year commitments, any non-standard term which could influence your overall pricing. The system can also negotiate with the vendor autonomously. So imagine an AI negotiating with 50 tailspin vendors at the same time, arriving at the best price, which no team of 5 humans would be able to do even if they had a week. So that's called negotiation execution. That is a type of executional AI. And wherever humans are needed, wherever the system comes across a roadblock, wherever the vendor is being intractable or just not agreeing, then they'll put a human into the loop and they can take an exception decision at any time. That's one. That is typically used for tactical and tail spend items. But beyond this, when we are looking at strategic spend, multi-million-dollar services contracts, Then the system has to tie together all your past purchase history as well as your negotiation strategy for how to negotiate a large-scale audit services contract, for example. Right? Should you just renew with your previous vendor because your incumbent advantage is already there and the migration cost is not there? Should you do a bounded RFP? Should you do a full market evaluation? The system is smart enough to understand your purchase context as well as say market P50 benchmarks for what consulting firms are charging. This could be fed into a report into our knowledge hub. We can use that to give you AI insights, which translates to negotiation strategy insights and suggestions. So across this entire process, from intake to sourcing to bid evaluation, negotiation, and award, AI is embedded contextually, giving each stakeholder the right insights they need, whether they are approving an intake, whether they are approving a negotiation, whether they are approving an award. At every step, the right type of insights to make that stakeholder's decision easier is provided. Whether it's a sourcing manager deciding what type of negotiation strategy to use at all, or whether it's just the final HOD who is approving that decision. At every step, contextual AI insights are also provided, which are a type of advisory intelligence. So just going back to where we started, advisory, assistive, and execution intelligence, these are the pillars of which AI are going to evolve into. And as we enhance each and every one of these steps with more data, with more insights, with more expertise, the entire process gets more and more streamlined, and eventually you will be able to do procurement at the speed of thought. Thank you so much. That is my presentation, and now we can move to Q&A.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have one more round of a big applause for Gaurav for that wonderful session on leveraging AI to move source to pay at the speed of thought. Gaurav, thank you so much for this, and I would again like to reiterate what I said before Gaurav came on stage, that the entire team of Aerchain, they are here throughout the day. They have a wonderful exhibit booth outside, so please do take out your time from your busy schedules, from your networking session, and do visit the booth of Aerchain to more, to know more about their products and offerings. And I'm sure Gaurav and the team will be happy to welcome you there as well. So, in the interest of the time, we can take a quick one or two questions. So any questions, please raise your hand. We'll pass on the mic to you. I think we have a question from the lady first, then I'll come to you. Ma'am, if you can keep your hands raised, can we get the mic? Please do introduce yourself and your organization, and one question, please. Yeah, can we get the mic to her, please?
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Mohini Sharma from BACS Rajdhani, and I work as a procurement manager. Basically, sir, I want to ask you that how to maintain transparency in AI-driven supplier evaluation so that decision may be fair.
So every AI evaluation that the system is generating is also part of the audit trail. So every event will have an audit trail with every action taken by AI or a human is documented over there. So the first level of AI insights are coming in. Now, at the approval level, another level of AI insights are coming in. So there's a complete audit trail you have in when you download an event report. You will have an entire section of what AI insights were provided at what time and for what justification. So therefore, there will be complete traceability across the process.
Okay, with the rank is also there?
Correct.
Oh, thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much. And can we have the mic to the gentleman here? Please raise your hand. Yeah. Please do introduce yourself and your company and the question.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody.
morning.
I'm Sandeep from Cooperian. I'm working as a global procurement manager here. Basically, we are in the petrochemical plant. So I have seen your presentation. My question is that, let's say we have generally all these PSUs are our customers, and we have a contract pays at least 4,000 to 5,000 pays. We have big PRs, and so I seen that your presentation generally helping for the FMCG or the company which having the mass productions. So your technology or your is capable of analyzing all these long contracts?
Yes.
And second question is that, because we have all the sensitive information, all these, so how about the privacy of the data if that will not be, shared with somebody?
Absolutely. So
Thank
there are
you.
3 levels to this answer. dealing with the likes of National Stock Exchange of India, dealing with Reliance Industries, Reliance Petrochemicals. So the entire oil to chemical business is on our platform today. We are talking tens of thousands of line items in a single PR potentially. We're talking about contract documents with tens of thousands of pages. Now, the length of the page, the length of the document doesn't really matter because you're used to the consumer grade GPTs, which have tokenization limits. When we would implement for a customer like you, we would exceed those token limits to handle the size of the documents you would need to, while still providing the level of quality of AI insights and AI LLM generation that you would need. Now, when it comes to data privacy, every customer's data is kept in the encapsulated AI, where all of the learnings are specific to you, and if you would like, that can be hosted inside your own AI environment as well. So that's how data privacy is maintained.
Thank you so much. And Gaurav, I would request you to kindly be on stage. Would like to call on stage Miss Somali Jaiswal Sharan from Carrier HVAC. Somali ji, if you can kindly do the honors of felicitating our wonderful speaker here. A big round of applause to Somali as well. Please come to the stage. And can we have the certificate, please?
Thank you.
A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Gaurav Guha, Principal Advisor, AI Procurement Strategy from Aerchain, on that wonderful presentation on leveraging AI to move source to pay at the speed of thought. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for enlightening all of us, and thank you, Somali, for doing the honors.